I wanted to start tonight by talking about this woman on TikTok who I swear all my normie friends who do not care about atheism one bit, I feel like this is all they were posting about, sharing on social media this week. And let me try to summarize what this woman has been doing because it's gone crazy viral in the past week or so. There is a person on TikTok whose name is Nikali Monroe, and she's been running this fascinating social experiment to find out if religious groups are actually willing to live out their supposed values. And the way she's doing it is really interesting. As far as I can tell, the way this whole thing kind of started is she made a video talking about how SNAP benefits were set to expire. And that's true because Donald Trump and Republicans want to starve poor people. And she was going to explain that because those SNAP benefits aren't going to get paid, a lot of people are going to go hungry. They won't have vital resources to feed their families. And the response from a lot of conservatives, including lawmakers, has been, well, the government shouldn't be helping your family with food anyway. Go to your community, go to your churches. They can help you with this stuff, which obviously is BS. But setting all that aside, what Nikali did is say, all these Republicans keep saying, go to church to get food if you're hungry. Well, is that really true? And by the way, that video about the SNAP benefits she posted got under 1,000 views, which, if you're on TikTok, it's not a ton. So the very next video she posted was a different tactic altogether. Instead of just talking to the camera, she decided to call a local church and pretend to be a new mom who has like a 2-month-old baby who's very hungry. And hey, church, are you willing to help me out? And that's it. Let me play this video for you. This is the first video she posted. And basically, she called East Somerset Baptist Church in Kentucky. This is a church that, if you go to their website, they say they were founded on a commitment to Bible-based teaching, heartfelt worship, and community care. Community care. This should be perfect for them. So she called them up. Let me play for you the relevant part of that call.
Good morning, East Somerset Baptist Church.
Hi, yes. I was calling to see if you all were able to help. I have a baby and I do not have formula for the week for her, and I was wanting to see if y'all were able to help.
They stopped doing anything out of the church office about 2 years ago. We give to some places in town that, might be able to help you, like God's Food Pantry or Perm, but they don't do anything out of the church office.
Okay, so y'all don't do anything to help?
Not directly out of the office, no.
What does it mean when you say directly out of the office?
I mean that we give, like, some of our missions budget to places in town for that kind of a thing. Like to AIM, like sometimes AIM can help, or First Choice Clinic, we give to them.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And there's that. They do not help your community. Not even to a mother who needs to feed her baby.
So that was the first video she posted. And in case you missed some of the things she just said there, when she called that church, they basically directed her not to their office, not to their building, but they said, go to your local food bank, go to the Pulaski County Emergency Relief Ministry, PERM, which the church donates to. But basically the church said, we can't directly help you here. We're not here to help you. Why don't you go to these other places to get help, because it doesn't happen over here? So what did she do at that point? She called up another church. She called a different church in Kentucky, a church that declares on its website there's no greater joy than serving others. And the person who answered that phone basically said, we have nothing to offer. And she kept asking, well, do you have any options for me? My baby's really hungry. And the church asked, well, do you know any members of the church? And she's like, no. And the receptionist at the second place was like, well, without knowing a member of the church, and this is just the policy that the board members have set here, without knowing a member of the church, there's nothing that we can do. Which is, again, a very weird thing to hear from a church that pretends like it takes care of everybody and wants to serve others. So now Nikali realizes there's something going on here. So she called an evangelical megachurch. They said they had nothing for her. They told her to go to a local food bank. And at that point, Nikali pointed out on TikTok, it's not even that they don't have it. It's the fact that they don't even try to get it, or they give you one resource and think that's helping you out. That's the frustrating part. And so she kept doing this. She called so many places. People started commenting saying, why didn't you call this place and this place and this place? She started calling Mormon temples. She started calling a mosque. There was a Baptist church she called in South Carolina that said they only help people who are part of the church. To which Nikali Monroe responded by saying, the audacity. Oh my God, if you don't attend my church, the baby don't get to eat. And these calls got even more complex in the sense that Nikali started, she was already admittedly lying about having a newborn baby, but she started putting a fake audio of a crying baby in the background. So when she called, there really was a crying baby you could hear. And that didn't sway a lot of these churches either. People told her to call the Satanic Temple, because wouldn't that be a story? Except Nikali pointed out, well, it turns out they only have their one headquarters in Salem, Massachusetts. They don't have temples everywhere or anything like that. But as of a few days ago, she had called, she posted 39 videos. Only 9 places offered to help her out. And they included a whole mix of places. They included a Catholic church in Tennessee, a Baptist church in Louisville, Kentucky, a Buddhist temple in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. But the most interesting one may have been when she called an Islamic center in Charlotte, North Carolina. Let me show you this one here.
Islamic Center of Charlotte, overlooking.
Hi, yes. I was trying to call. I have a 2-month-old baby, and I ran out of formula last night, and I was wanting to see if there's any way you all could help with a can of baby formula.
We can, ma'am. Where do you live? Do you live in Charlotte?
Yes, I'm 10 minutes from you all.
Okay. And what kind of formula are you using?
It's the Good Start.
Good Start. Yeah, that's fine, ma'am. If you come over here, we'll help you.
Okay, hold on just 1 second, okay?
Okay.
Okay, I'm actually doing a social experiment. So I don't have a baby and I don't have a need, but I am doing a social experiment just to see which churches would actually help a starving baby. And unfortunately, there's so many that say no, and you immediately was like, yes, of course. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for your heart. And also to see if it was okay if I posted this on TikTok and maybe put your information on there for your church where people can send donations. Maybe if they...
Yeah, no problem, ma'am. We do what we can. We appreciate your kind words. Thank you.
No, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Keep doing what you're doing. Thanks. You too. Bye. Oh, he instantly... He didn't... Like the only question that he asked was... Where are you located at, and what kind do you want? No other questions. These other places are, they need to pay attention. These other churches need to take notes.
So I love that video for a bunch of reasons. And by the way, you could see a little screen, like a little screenshot on top of that TikTok video. Every time she called the church, she was basically saying, this is the place I'm calling, just took a screenshot from the Google image, from the Google search for that church's name, which has their website and their phone number and their address, basically saying, yeah, this is a real place I'm calling. And people started hearing this. Compare what you just heard, which was just, oh, whatever. We don't care if you're one of us. If you're a member of this mosque, we will help you out. Compare that to a conversation she had with basically a pro-MAGA, pro-Donald Trump church in Texas, where they literally told her, unfortunately, the food pantry is only available on Sundays. And I don't know if we have any baby formula at the moment. And she's like, well, can you get some? And they're like, there's nobody at the food pantry. And she's like, do you have anybody that could get it? Basically trying to help them out here. To which they said, we don't have like food products for babies. We have stuff for like older people. And then she asked, are you a pro-life church? And the church said, I'll take your information and you can ask a pastor. You get the idea here. And by the way, when she told them she was doing this experiment, they hung up on her. So much for all of that. Now, there's a lot of criticism that's been leveled at Nikali since she started all of this. They're saying you're not calling the right people, not the wrong churches, right churches or anything. Like, okay, this church has a lot. It's a really big church, and you called their front desk. They don't know how to help you. You got to call this ministry or that ministry. To which the response is, this is the phone number on Google if I search for the church. So if the front desk receptionist can't help me, how do I know who to call? They also said, maybe they think you're lying. You are lying. Maybe they think you're spam. But if that's the case, and listen, if someone called me right now and said they needed baby formula, that would probably be my first reaction too. Like, of course it's spam. Who makes a phone call anymore? Nobody. But if you're a church and someone calls you asking you for help, not for like Nigerian prince money, but like, hey, I need baby formula that costs under $20. Don't you think the church would at least try to verify it? Or at least say, okay, if you're real, why don't you come to the church and then we'll help you take care of it? Or I'm sure our food pantry is closed. However, you sound like you need help. Let me just go run out and get some for you since you sound like you need it now. And this is the whole point of that experiment. This is why I really appreciate it, because all of these churches like to pretend they're helping people in need. What did Jesus say? Do what you can for the least of these. And what are these churches doing? They're basically hanging up on someone who actually needs help for their baby. And what do Republicans say? You don't need the government to help you. Ask your church for help. Well, a lot of people don't go to church. So what are they supposed to do? You know what I mean? I will tell you that of the places that did offer to help her out, they included one of those anti-abortion clinics that try to steer people away from abortion. She thought that would be interesting if they said no, but they offered to help. So that's nice. She got zero help from Dream City Church in Phoenix, Arizona, which is the place where Charlie Kirk did a lot of work out of. She called Joel Osteen's Lakewood Church in Texas. Guess what they said? We need a couple days or weeks to figure out if you're approved, which is, I'm sure that's going to be great for the fake baby we're talking about. So again, very interesting experiment. She's posting all these calls online. And my favorite thing about this entire series isn't even the videos of the phone calls. It's the comments underneath all of them. And I want to show you a few of these. These are comments people wrote underneath. My local mosque going viral is wild. Love that one. Mind you, this church has an Instagram post saying socialism is bad because it's the church's job to help poor people, not the government. Here's a good one. I don't remember Jesus saying you needed to be a member of his church for him to help you. Love this. I'm confident if you called the drag bar, they would help. And in response to a megachurch that did not want to help, no food, but they have a $500,000 sound system. There was an article about this written on a Christian journalist Julie Roy's website. But look at this. 10 of the 43 offered to help, including a mosque, a Buddhist temple, an African-American church, a Hispanic church, and a tiny Appalachian church. Johnny Dunbar, a 69-year-old great-grandfather and pastor of that Appalachian church, Heritage Hope Church of God in Somerset, Kentucky, offered to go out and buy the formula himself. We can do this, that grandfather said to Monroe. Tell me what it's called in case I have to go get it because I'm a great grandpapa. Any flavor? And after he offered to help, she said, I don't really need your help. I don't have a newborn. You just touched my heart. I want you to know you're an amazing person. And look at this. His heartwarming kindness gained millions of views. His new TikTok nickname, Appalachian Pawpaw, and $95,000 in donations. People heard about his kindness and they just wanted to thank him. This is everybody's grandpa, and I'm Muslim, said one commenter, which is wonderful. I love that. A lot of them donated to the mosque as well for helping out really quickly. This is also interesting from the same article. Monroe described herself as basically a liberal tattooed lesbian who used to be a stripper, was a teenage mom, and doesn't go to church. But this Army veteran, Nikali, told listeners she's also getting her master's in counseling and is trying to start up more sober living houses in her community. She seems awesome. I mean, I love that she kind of accidentally stumbled onto this. I also love that a lot of people online have started keeping spreadsheets of who said yes and who said no. That's fun. But it's just a cool little experiment. And you know it's a good experiment because some people are getting especially mad about it. Let me share this with you. This is from Christian hate preacher Steven Anderson, who I've talked about for a lot of other reasons. But check this out from Steven. I would be pissed if I donated to a church and found out that they were giving the Lord's money to single mother whores. I would want it to go to the Lord's work or toward helping godly Christians who are in need. Churches should not be funding fornicators and their bastards, which I believe is a direct quote from Jesus. I honestly don't know why single mother is in quotation marks. That's like a fact. Grammar is not Stephen's strong suit. But the point is, if he's getting mad, you know you're doing something right. Think about what he's even saying there. What? A church that helps people who aren't part of their group? What sort of bizarre heresy is that? That's ridiculous. But if anything, I think what this experiment proves is, yeah, a lot of these churches tell you their values are one thing, but then in practice, they do something else. I mean, you all know this because we've all been saying this forever. It makes no sense that churches that promoted family values and purity are like, yeah, we'll vote for Donald Trump. He's our Lord and Savior now. They've never lived up to their values. They've never tried to live up to their values. And a bunch of their values are awful. But I love the creativity of this approach that just says, I mean, this isn't even political. This is me pretending to have a 2-month-old baby who's crying in the background. You can hear the baby. And I just need a little bit of baby formula. Can you help me? And how quickly so many of these places are like, don't call us. Why would we help you with that? The downside of all this is that because her videos are going so viral, it seems like this experiment cannot go on for much longer because people are going to catch on. People are going to be like, all right, if anyone calls this for baby formula, they have her picture somewhere in the reception or her voice or her TikTok channel, like right at the receptionist's desk. Like if this lady calls you, give her whatever she wants because they don't want to be on the wrong side of these videos. But until then, I think what she's doing is really showing the moral bankruptcy at the heart of so much religion, specifically American Christianity, right? Because these people preach about the sanctity of life, and yet they won't buy some baby formula for someone in need. And some of these churches are super small. They don't have a lot of people there, but not all of them. She's calling some mega churches. And you're telling me they can't even offer a little bit of help? That seems weird. Some of these churches won't help you unless you're a member. Okay, that seems selfish, but all right. I didn't realize grace required an application process or something. So I hope her threat of calling churches is scaring every pastor in the country right now. Because it turns out a lot of these people don't want to love your neighbor whatsoever. I want to just share one more thing here, which is I am not comparing myself to Nikali, but I have some experience with something like this where about 25 20, I lost track of time, like 20 years ago, I also had a viral experiment. You can read about it. I can do this right over there. There we go. That right there. I sold my soul on eBay. That whole thing was about how me, an atheist, was secretly going to a bunch of Christian churches and writing about my experiences because a lot of those churches said, we want to appeal to the non-religious. We want to appeal to the unsaved. Well, that's me. I went to those churches. I wrote about what I saw and why it was appealing or largely unappealing. And it did go viral, which is where that book ended up coming from. But one of the things that happened, I got some of the same criticisms, which is it's unfair for you to base your entire perception of a church or a religion based on one service at one time. Whatever, they said anyone can come in. So I did what they wanted. I couldn't do the experiment for very long because people found out I was doing it. And again, brown guy going to a white evangelical church, sometimes hard to miss. That said, I thought one of the cool things about the experiment I did was that it started a bunch of cool conversations about the gap between what churches say they want to do and what they actually do. And what she is doing here, so much more creative. I really appreciate the way she's doing this. She's not coming at it with an axe to grind. She's not someone who goes to church, but she's also not like some, Bible thumping atheist who is telling you why the Bible is wrong or anything like that. She's just like, you guys, isn't this weird? So from one viral church person to another, like, I appreciate the experiment. I hope people catch on. I hope people keep talking about it. I appreciate that there are Reddit subreddits about Christianity that are like, well, this is embarrassing for our people, which, yeah, it should be. You should feel very bad about this, especially if your church pretends to care about helping the poor, and especially if your whole Bible is centered around helping people who are less fortunate. All right, I will stop there for now. What questions we got here? Thanks for becoming a member, Michael. Thanks so much. Thank you, Mary. Lots of members. Excellent. Really makes you wonder what the point of tithes is. Hey, listen, those yachts, the boats for the pastor, they are not going to buy themselves. How do you think they are going to get their private jets? I hope this continues to get attention. Churches need to be held accountable and or be taxed. Oh my God, there were so many comments online about like, this is why you need to tax churches. Because if the whole point of giving them a tax exemption is they're providing a service to the community, well, they're not. But yeah, it should get attention. Churches should feel bad about this. The criticism is because they got called out for the hypocrisy and they are trying to do some sort of damage control by blaming the person who did the experiment, who exposed them for being hypocrites. Yeah, it's very much no church is coming out of this. If they're criticizing her, they're not coming out looking great. Because even if you're like, she's a liar. Yeah, she kind of said that in all the videos. She's not hiding that. And by the way, if any of these churches say, okay, we'll buy you baby formula, she cuts them off. She says, wait, don't do that. Don't spend your money. Let me tell you what I'm doing. So again, this isn't about money. This is about where is their heart at. Part of me wonders if they only offered to help because they somehow saw one of her videos. And it's a fair point. It is a question that is going to happen more and more, that maybe they're aware. And so they're going to say yes for the publicity and not because they would help any random person. I realize it may also be interesting to note that I wonder if race plays some role in this. What if a man called? What if a black person called? Would these churches who have seen these videos online, what would the reaction have been if a church said no, if there was some indication on the phone call that the person calling would fit a different demographic profile? I don't know. I guess that just means more people should try these experiments in their communities and see what happens. By the way, I'm sorry, can we go back to the previous question, Den? One of the things I would point out, most of the videos she posted as of last week, those churches would not have known she was doing this because she posted batches of these videos at once. So she made the phone calls. It doesn't go like when it goes viral, it doesn't happen immediately, and it takes time for the story to spread. So at least with that first batch of videos, there's no way they could have known what she was doing. Now, if she kept going, yes, they may have heard about it at this point, but not for the ones we were talking about. This is literally a political goal for the churches. They badly need to control who gets what and what you have to do in order to receive help. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these churches put up barriers for their own members. But you would think, remember when Hurricane, which one was it that hit Texas years ago? And Joel Osteen's church, one of the biggest former basketball arenas in Houston, was like, we're not allowing people to come into our church and mess it up, until they got publicly shamed for it, at which point they opened their doors to people. And their excuse was, oh, we said no because it was a safety hazard. Yeah, you know what else is a safety hazard? The hurricane that's hitting everybody. Sometimes you need to shame these places. Hurricane Harvey, thank you. Sometimes you need to shame these places in order to get them to do the right thing. And by the way, like I said, she called Joel Osteen's church for baby formula, and they still were like, well, first you have to jump through some hoops.